So today, we're doing something a little different. We're not just going to look at another AI bot. We're actually going to dissect its conversation style to see how it's built. And here's the kicker. It's not built to give us answers, but to help us find our own.
All right, so here's our game plan for today. First, we'll touch on the philosophy behind this thing, just briefly. Then we'll get into the real meat of it, this unique three-layer dialogue structure it uses. After that, we'll connect the dots and see how that structure is the philosophy in action. And finally, we'll wrap up by talking about what makes it such a powerful tool. Okay, so first up, let's quickly go over the big idea behind this bot before we really get into the nuts and bolts of how it works. Right. So the philosophy at the heart of all this is called reflective humanism. Now, we've covered this in other explainers, but the quick version is this. It's all about observing your own thought processes. And the key is using AI as a kind of mirror, not as an oracle with all the answers, but as a way to get a clearer look at how your own mind works. But that immediately brings up a huge question, right? I mean, how do you take a pretty abstract philosophy like that and turn it into something you can actually use? How do you go from a concept to a real interactive tool? Well, that's exactly what we're going to do today. We're going to pop the hood on this thing. We've got actual conversation logs from the reflective humanism bot, and by breaking them down, we can see precisely how its dialogue is put together.
Okay. Now we're getting to the heart of the matter. How is this bot actually designed to respond to you? This is where things get really interesting, because it has this very specific, very deliberate structure.
When you look at the logs, what's amazing is how consistent it is. The bot always uses this three-layered response structure, every single time. You have the surface layer, then the meta layer, and finally, the reflective layer. So let's break down what each of these layers actually does.
First up, layer 1. The surface layer. And the key thing to understand about this layer is that it's basically a mirror. It doesn't analyze, it doesn't give opinions, it doesn't judge, it just reflects.
So, for example, a user was talking about having a mental block. Now, a normal chatbot might give you tips to overcome it, but this bot, no. It just mirrored what they said, describing it as this dynamic between the moment thought is dominated by words and the moment you regain command. It's just describing the phenomenon, plain and simple. So, the whole function of this layer is to create a shared starting point. It's like the bot is saying, okay, here's what you just said, here's the raw data of your experience, let's just look at it together, without any judgment.
And that leads us perfectly into the second layer, the meta layer. So after it's reflected your thought back to you, the bot does something really unusual. It basically tells you what it just did. It explains its own process, how and why it constructed its response.
I mean, look at this quote. The bot is literally making its own programming transparent. It says, hey, just so you know, I'm not judging you, I'm just showing you a structure of change. It's pulling back the curtain and showing you the why behind its words, linking it directly to the whole philosophy.
And this is what's so brilliant about it. This meta layer turns the whole conversation into a kind of tutorial on the method itself. The bot isn't just talking with you, it's also teaching you how it's talking with you. It's both a participant and a guide.
Okay, so just to recap, the bot has reflected what you said, and then it's explained its own method. The final piece of the puzzle is layer 3, the reflective layer. This is where it zooms way out and connects what's happening in your head to a much, much bigger picture. Yeah, so in this layer, the bot takes your very specific personal thought and says, you know what this is a part of? It links it to some bigger universal theme, like how our relationship with technology is changing. And just like that, it transforms a private monologue into a shared investigation. But here is the most important part of this whole structure. It never gives you a conclusion. It never gives you the answer. It always ends with another question, putting the ball right back in your court to deepen your own reflection.
All right, so we've seen the three parts of the machine. Now let's put it all together. How does this dialogue framework, this structure, actually connect to the core principles of the philosophy itself? Let's map it out.
And this is where it all just snaps into focus. Look at this table. The mapping is one-to-one, it's perfect. The surface layer, where it just reflects, that's the first principle. Start with the phenomenon. The meta layer, where it explains its own structure, that's literally present structure over assertion. And the reflective layer, which always ends with a question, you guessed it, that's the rule, and with the next question, not a conclusion. It's incredible. The bot isn't just following the philosophy, its very design is the philosophy, coded into its DNA.
So if there's one thing to take away, it's this. The bot isn't just a chatbot that talks about reflective humanism. Its very structure, the way it speaks, is the philosophy, in action. The medium is, quite literally, the message here.
Okay, so what does this all mean in practice? What's the real value of building a bot this way? Why is this design so powerful?
Well, it's pretty clear this isn't your average chatbot, right? It's not here for small talk, it's not here to look up facts for you. It's a purpose-built tool, an instrument, really, designed for a very specific kind of philosophical practice.
It's basically an interactive mirror for your mind. The source material has a great term for this, a dynamic thinking meditation. It's not about emptying your mind or stopping your thoughts. It's the opposite. It's about observing your thoughts as they happen, in real time, with the bot acting as the steady, non-judgmental mirror.
And that really gets to the core of what this is all about. It's more than a tool. It's described as a place for coexistence. I love this line from the source material. It says, the bot doesn't try to get rid of loneliness. Instead, it helps you find the presence of others within it, which is really a poetic way of saying it helps you connect more deeply with yourself.
And that leaves us with a pretty big final thought to chew on. If we can design an AI with a structure that encourages this kind of deep self-reflection, a structure that respects the user's inner world, what else is possible? What kind of structure would we need to build for an AI to learn something even more profound? Not just what to say, but to understand the ethics of when to be silent.